Hello, my name is Christopher C. Lee, and welcome to the Photomochi Show, Episode 3. Today we have a very special guest on the show with us. Her name is Bobby Alyssa. She is a top content creator and lifestyle and fashion model in the San Francisco Bay Area. Thank you so much for being on the show with us today.
Thanks for having me, Chris.
So tell us a little bit more about yourself, Bobby.
Yeah, I am Bobby Alyssa. I am born and raised in the Bay Area. I am a lifestyle fashion model and content creator. I also have a upcoming project and current project, which is my body sculpting business. I am an educator and I educate others on how to contour their bodies to make them feel good.
So tell us a little bit more about what got you started into modeling.
Yeah, of course. I have always had an interest in modeling. I just didn't believe it was feasible at the time when I was actively pursuing it younger, just because beauty standards at the time were very strict. And I feel that nowadays there's a lot of room for diversity in the modeling industry. Because of that, I was able to start my process with modeling on social media. That's where I began on Instagram. Once I started forming relationships with those brands, I was able to go ahead and work with them long term, which then led me into the fashion industry that I am in today.
So what are your favorite types of photo shoots?
Yeah, of course. I really enjoy lifestyle modeling and shoots. It's just where I can express myself the most in terms of fashion, as well as background and environment. I'm always surprised by the outcome of photos when I'm outdoor in a new environment with a new photographer.
Awesome. So tell us a little bit more about what inspires you and what motivates you in life.
Yeah, I'm really inspired by other content creators. That's a huge reason why I felt confident enough to even get in the industry. Seeing others' success and them having a great outcome and the way their lifestyle was really inspiring to me. And I was just really driven to get to that point at a very fast rate, which I was able to do. And that makes me happy.
Where do you see your career evolving in the near future?
Yeah, within the next few years, I do plan on getting more into high-end fashion, which is a lot different than where I started with Instagram. It was just a lot of posting in exchange for things that I wanted to work with, built relationships, and now I think high-end fashion is what I'm most interested in.
And what makes you happy in life?
Yeah, the best thing to me in life is being able to share these experiences that I built these relationships with all these brands and these creators, and I'm able to take my family and friends with me along on all these trips and receive all the things that make us happy, and we get to enjoy things together.
Awesome. Thank you for sharing that. Now we're going to meet up with Peter Nayeli.
Perfect. Sounds good.
Thank you, Peter and Nayeli, for being on the show with us today.
Thank you for having us.
When you were working on your most recent photo shoot, tell us about an experience that made you learn a lot and grow as a model.
Yeah, of course. The last photo shoot I had was in Oakland, California, an area that I'm not familiar with. Growing up in the Bay Area, it's just an area that haven't been to most of the part, and the environment that I was in was a lot different than where I'm used to in San Jose. So just exploring that environment, how the culture is and the people was really interesting to me.
Awesome. Do you have any favorite photographers that you like to work with?
Other than you, I use Chris's photo that he took of me for every profile picture I have, by the way. Yes, I do have a favorite photographer. It was a photographer that I just worked with in Oakland. His name is Antoine. He shared a lot of experiences with me and his background that he's from the area. So it was really cool to learn about that.
So, Bobby, tell us about challenging experiences you've had on a photo shoot and how you've learned to overcome them.
Yeah, the hardest part for me, especially starting out, was just being in front of the camera. As simple as that sounds, I actually was never felt that I was photogenic. So being in front of one and being able to pose and be professional and being in the public eye, just on the street or with anyone, especially in front of the photographer, was really hard for me. And it took me a while, but from meeting new people and especially photographers, having them tell me, and making me feel comfortable was always the best thing for me, and it helped me overcome that by a lot.
And would you say that just the more repetition you got in front of the camera, the more over time you just started to feel more confident?
Yeah, just with everything, big believer in practice makes perfect. You can never really know if you're good at something or if you like something unless you try it until you really don't like it anymore. And even though I was uncomfortable, I was able to meet great people and come out with some great content. So that was really rewarding.
That's awesome. And as a photographer, I'm always looking for ways to help my models feel more comfortable in front of the camera. Like, what advice would you give to a photographer, like, to help him or her understand like what to say and what to do in front of a model?
Yeah, of course. I'm very big on communication in any type of relationship. So whether it be with a photographer, friends, boyfriend, girlfriend, it doesn't matter. As long as you're communicating with the model or whoever you're working with in business, I feel that that's the most comfortable thing to do. As long as you're expressing what you feel, asking them how they feel, it makes things run a lot smoother.
Do you have moments where you sort of like run out of ideas and you need some inspiration to kind of get you moving? What do you do to overcome those like moments where you kind of have like a blank mind?
Yeah, when I'm kind of in a stump or anything of that sort, what I do actively is I'm always on social media. That's part of my job. I have a bunch of folders that I organize of different types of photo shoots that I could either potentially be interested in, something that I don't understand. I save everything so I can kind of go back and see if I even want to get into something like that. So I always have inspiration on hand when I run out. It's something I didn't think about before, but ever since I have done it, it's been really useful to me.
How did that change for you when you started picking up on more ideas from different creators? Do you feel like that opened up your mind, or do you feel like that kind of gave you a tunnel vision as to like, hey, this is the kind of content I want to create?
Being on social media and seeing the different types of content was really interesting to me. I'm someone that's open to any opportunity, and so why I'm in lifestyle. I like to try everything. So I never really knocked anything until I tried it. If it caught my eye, I could potentially always come back to it. So I thought that was the best way. So I'm always just open to everything.
Yeah, so for somebody who would want to get into this industry, what are some tips or advice you'd give?
Yeah, I would say definitely back to the communication. If you're not expressing what you want to try or what you like and what you don't like, it's going to be very hard for you to succeed in content creation or modeling industry in general.
So what are your favorite aspects about doing a photo shoot? Like, what makes it rewarding for you?
The most rewarding part is the connection that either you have with who you're working with, the people that are on set. It's not always about the fashion for me as much as I do like getting clothes and being in new places. Meeting the people is where I've been able to grow. Without meeting the people I've met along the way on my modeling and content journey, I wouldn't be able to experience all the things that I enjoy every day.
Somebody like yourself who works in different industries, would you say the same rules apply? I mean, you saying communication is one thing, but also kind of just expressing your ideas and really like staying true to them all the way until you see whether you like it or not. Do you feel like that applies to all industries?
Yes, so staying true to yourself is one of the things that I think everyone should look into, or I think everyone should stay true to themselves no matter what you're doing. There just comes to a point where you'll be overwhelmed with work or overbooked and you're taking on things that you don't enjoy, and you never want to fall out of your passion that you already knew you had. So definitely don't get into anything you're uncomfortable with. Definitely try new things, but if you know deep down that that's something that makes you uncomfortable, I would say definitely don't dive into that.
Yeah.
It'll make you lose passion for what you're viewing already.
Yeah, we talked about that last time.
Yeah, it starts with passion, you get overwhelmed, and then you start to think about it, and that's never a good thing.
It comes like that.
It comes
a
a
chore.
Job, right?
Yeah.
This is your job.
and you know.
Yeah.
Yeah.
At first, it doesn't feel like that unless you kind of go down that path.
Exactly.
I remember we did talk about if you go into something for the wrong reason, it'll start to become like a chore.
Absolutely.
And so you want to make sure like you're like 100% sure of yourselves before you get into that, because you'll end up like kind of losing faith in it later on.
Yeah,
So,
I can definitely get into that kind of topic just because when I did start, I started into a lot of fast fashion, some clothes that I actually wasn't comfortable wearing just because I thought it would help me grow. Maybe I thought I would like it later on. I didn't listen to my gut, and it was hard for me to come back and feel passionate about the work I was producing and putting out when I started off too fast and I just got a little bit caught up.
So Bobby, how do you overcome staying away from getting stressed or overwhelmed now that you've fluctuated and moved away from, a typical 9 to 5? What do you do to stay on top of your videos, your shoots, and even your outfits?
Yeah, so this is a great question. I am someone who deals with a lot of stress and anxiety, especially leaving something that was so routine, my 9 to 5 school. You just always know what you're going to get into. With content creation, I think the best thing for me was prioritizing the things that make me feel happy and feel accomplished. When there was a point where I was just taking on work just to take it on because I felt that it would feel good, I proved myself wrong every time. So now that I have a ongoing list of things that I do every day, and the top 3 things are the things that are going to benefit me the most and what I'm going to feel most rewarded with.
Can you walk us through your work schedule? Like, how do you keep yourself disciplined? How do you keep yourself organized? Like, for any other entrepreneur out there that wants to run his or her own business, what advice would you give them?
Efficiency is something that's very important to me. It always has been. I know that everyone works in a different way. I think finding the most efficient way to organize yourself and make sure you get things done is the best thing to do. I know that people are more visual. You can create a video of yourself talking about what you're going to do that day. I've met someone that does that before. Interesting to me because I'm a list person. So every day I wake up and I schedule myself basically like I'm my own manager. So I plan my own day, but I've met people that make a video and basically manifest what they're doing the whole day to make sure they complete it so they can look back.
It's interesting because I feel like when you jump into that route of being an entrepreneur, at first there's a lot of uncertainty. And there's uncertainty in the schedule because all of a sudden you're left with all of this time. And I know we've touched on that in the past where your time management really kicks in because it's like, okay, are you really just like, are you being productive or are you really being productive, right? So one of those things, like, I mean, do you think you struggled at the beginning or were you able to just get right on track with everything?
Yes. Like I was saying, I grew up in a family where efficiency was very important to everyone. So I kind of just already had a very efficient, productive management lifestyle. I did study business management in school and it was right up my alley. So I felt like I've always knew I wanted to be some kind of entrepreneur, management or planning. So just making sure you're setting yourself up for your own success and not according to someone else's plan or method is the best thing to do. You won't complete anything until you know that's the way you should be doing it. It's very important to keep up with trends as much as you need to stay true to yourself. You also need to produce content if you are open to growing in the industry that people want to see. So it's important to ask yourself, you know, would I click on this? Would I watch this if I were to post this? And I feel that that's the first question you should ask yourself with a touch of what you are about and your personal interests and your personal style. I would always blend those two with what's in the now just because you want it to be interesting to others in order to grow, but you also want to make sure people know that's your work.
And tell us a little bit more about your dream job and any advice that you can give to our viewers out there who are aspiring to achieve their dream job.
Yeah, recently I took a break from some things just because I really did need to reflect on what was my dream job. I feel like I know so many people that are never get to the point where they know what their dream job is. Yes, exactly. Have always been thinking about it. So getting into the modeling industry, I've been able to travel and meet people I never thought I would meet. And just taking a step back to reflect and taking a break from getting overwhelmed and overbooking myself, I was able to realize this is what I wanted to do, you know, when I first started. So not that I'm never going to work towards anything anymore, but I'm super happy with where I am right now. I think that being open to everything is something I learned and something I have noticed from some of the people I would deem successful that I have met. If you are not open to learning other people's styles, ways of thinking, it's going to be very hard to grow. I'm someone that grew up to think one way and just be very hard and strict on myself. And through connections and people I've met, I've learned that not everyone works the same way as I do. I have a tight schedule for myself, and when someone else doesn't have the same way of working, it throws me off. So being able to learn that other people have different styles, every human is completely different, it's helped me grow a lot and be more understanding to working with different people.
You work with so many people. how do you overcome being asked to shoot different images where you might be uncomfortable, wear different things, or work with people that, you might clash with? How do you handle that?
Being a few years into the industry now, it took me a while to say no to a lot of things, which is going back to knowing who you are and what you stand for, what you're comfortable with. I did find myself just saying yes to a lot of things because I was unsure of what I wanted. So when I'm uncomfortable with something or a specific item that I don't want to wear, I usually have terms before I arrive just so that we're clear and we're on the same page. So again, with the communication, they let me know what they want and what they feel is right, and I do the same as well. It just saves a lot of time and a lot of uncertainty when you arrive and you both are uncomfortable and unsure of what you want.
No, definitely. So do you specialize or focus or even lean towards a certain brand or a certain type of photographer maybe?
Yes, so recently I've been getting into, like I was saying, more lifestyle. When I first started, it was just me posting on social media, posting any kind of content. But once I started to build relationships with brands, I was called into studios. So studio shoots are a lot different than outdoor or lifestyle shoots. And that was just more modeling the product, very scripted type of photography, which I still enjoy. I just find that I'm not as passionate about it. I don't feel that I learn as much from those type of shoots than I do from being outdoor and meeting new people and being in new environments.
In life and in our careers, right? I feel like as humans, we're constantly evolving. What would you say was maybe one lesson you've learned recently that really helped you, maybe take it to the next step or just open your perspective to something different prior to, that lesson?
Yeah, so when I started, I just saw a lot of people, being very active and being super present on their channels. And I feel that everyone knows that you need to do that, but nobody thinks about the research that you have to do. And just because it's your passion or your dream and it seems as easy as posting a picture every day, there's so much more than that.
There's a lot that goes into
and that's
it,
part of like the entrepreneurial aspect of it, is that you have to put in the work on your own back end for you to grow. And that's something that I felt I struggled with when I started because I just didn't know anything about the industry. So doing that research, putting in that time, I had a full-time job, I was in school, but after that it was strictly, my next job, which was getting into the industry. So if you're not setting aside time to grow in your industry and research more about what you want to get into, it's going to be very hard for you to get anywhere if you're unsure about it. So it's just like school. You got to study for what you want to get into.
But with everything that that goes on in social media, I mean, there's so much that goes behind the scenes, and I think that's what people don't get to see. They just get to see the the end of the road, right? So it's just one of those things, and for creators, again, I think it's just one of those things where. Do you feel like you need to share more of the behind the scenes stuff, or do you feel like I'm just gonna showcase the end of the tunnel?
Recently, I feel like I've been getting a little bit more personal on my pages. When I first started, definitely only showed the best parts, which is what, it's understandable. Everyone wants to see the good things about what's going on in people's life. Obviously, we're human and you would never know what's going on in everyone's life, but I think that being personal and showing how you got somewhere and what you're doing to be in a place where people want to be is really important. Once I found people that I was able to connect with in that way, I just felt more inspired to grow. So just seeing the best parts of people's Instagram pages, it's hard to go a little bit further when you're just, copy and pasting their content. But the reason behind it and what they do to get to that is just a lot more helpful.
Right, and I do agree that having a creator be more personal with his or her audience, I think that is a very important aspect about being a content creator, because they relate to you on a human level, on a personal level. And so you become more of like a real person than like an AI generated kind of
I've found a lot of success recently. I was always kind of scared to put out what I really am. Not that I'm ashamed of who I am, but that's just something I never saw in general, just with content creation. And I feel like I'm very proud of my generation and new and upcoming content creators, because being personal is something that people are taking very seriously.
Especially today, I feel like today's day and age where there's so many creators and all we see is, the best side of everyone. Now I'm noticing a trend where people want more of that engagement. They really want to know who you are, and people are gravitating more towards stories, right? Stories is a great way to communicate with, your audience, and I think as social media evolves, I see that happening more. The more I speak with other creators, they're like, dude, people want to see the real you. And so that's good to hear that you've been getting a lot more success on that end.
Great.
Yeah, it's a lot of storytelling. People want to know your story, who you are, what you are about. They can only relate so much to a still picture of you. So being able to express, even if it's small parts, I felt like I gradually started sharing what I like to eat, what I wear to when I work out, what my family is like. I've seen a huge boost in my engagement just because people are like, oh my gosh, you look like your mom, or that's my favorite food too, or something like that. Just very small details that people recognize and remember. They will always see your work, but they won't always see your personality. And I think that's really important to show.
So, Bobby, is there anything else that you'd like to share with our audience today?
I would definitely say, if you can take anything or any advice from me, is to stay true to yourself and take action. You never know what you're going to get into, and if you'll ever be good at something, or even if you don't like something, unless you take action. And I really resonate with that, because I never thought I can be a model. Just body type in general, and what society has always deemed to be the perfect model. I am not 6 feet tall. I am not super, skinny, or what people would think a model should be. But I've been presented with so much opportunity just being who I am, especially coming from an Asian background. We are not always represented. So I'm very happy that brands and people and society as a whole are starting to be more open with different kinds of representation.
I also find it inspiring that you're giving kind of a message of hope to our audience, and that, hopefully our audience will be able to follow in your footsteps and do things as successful as you do as well. So
that's super important to me. I'm very big on taking action, because I was so scared to even try it growing up, just because nobody else was doing it. If you find something you want to do and nobody else is doing it, you could be the first one to do it. And you can find a whole new industry for yourself and what you are about. So always take action.
Anything is possible, so be proud.
Yes.
Be confident.
Own it.
awesome. Well, thank you so much, Bobby Alyssa, for joining us on the show today. Thank you, Peter. Thank you, Naomi.
Thanks for having us.
And we will catch you on the next episode.